Electricast.
Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
It's missing the point. And the regular season of the NFL, for all its ups, for all its downs, has finally come to a close. There were some notable deaths to seasons this year. Joe Burrow went down. That was sad. Aaron Rodgers.
I thought you were about to get real dark for a second. I was like, oh shit.
It was dark. It was dark the day Joe Burrow went down. It was dark for the whole season, for the whole league. Aaron Rodgers went down, which turned out I thought was good, but then turned out to be worse because he had more time to talk into microphones and get bodied by like tiny comedians on late night shows. I didn't love the regular season. I thought the Bears were going to be better, and that's a big part of it. But also, like, just the general narratives, like, just weren't as good. The good teams weren't as good as they were last season. The Chiefs got worse. The Bengals got worse. I mean, even before Burrow went down. None of the plot lines we thought were going to come true coming in really came true. There isn't like a super lovable team in this playoffs. There's a lot of teams you can root against, and it's like fun to root against. Like the Philadelphia Eagles are fun to root against because like their coach is way in over his head. They've made like they made the most embarrassing final day of like any team on Bobby. I mean, I know we're gonna come on to talk about that, but on this note, I would love, and I didn't prep you guys at all for this just because I wanted to hear it off the cuff, but I would love to hear what your least favorite thing that happened this season is, storyline, injury, whatever it is, not related to your own team, because I also do want to do a brief thing before we jump into the playoff previews where Bobby and I talk about the Patriots season, and then you, Mike, and Bobby talk about the Bears season, and we don't get to defend our teams at all. And then we're going to talk about Bobby's team to him during the playoff preview. But since his team made the playoffs, it's kind of hard to not let him go on them. So because our teams were bad, we're both going to get punished for it. But Mike, what was the thing that annoyed you the most about this season? The thing that you really wish didn't happen the way it did, or something you could have changed?
Yeah. So I think for me, it was the utter lack of use of Bijan Robinson by the Atlanta Falcons and Arthur Smith. I promise you it has nothing to do with the fact that I had him on 4 fantasy teams and he fucked me in all of them. But and when we were doing our preview show and our prediction show, we all had him as the offensive rookie of the year. Like we know he has all the fundamentals to be that dual threat beast. And he averaged, I think at the end of this, by the time the season ended, like 13 carries a game and 4 catches a game. Like, you talked a lot about earlier in the year, actually midway through the year, DK, about how Jahmyr Gibbs, like you didn't get it. If I had not known about Bijan before the season, I would be saying the exact same thing about him because we hyped him up so much, and then they didn't know how to fucking use him at all.
Well, I mean, just use him would have been the solution, I think. Just use him, because it's not as if, I mean, the Jahmyr Gibbs thing I thought was a little bit different because, I saw them go get Monty in the offseason. I knew what he was capable of. Like, he had been a 1,000-yard rusher for the Bears multiple times. I thought that was a perfect fit for that offense and the way that they were scheming culture-wise. I knew he was going to fit in perfectly. And I was like, wow, their backfield's sorted. Like, David Montgomery's great. They went to get and got Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm like, that just seems like an embarrassment of riches, and I'm not entirely sure that system is going to accommodate him right off the bat. That turned out to be true. I'm sure he's going to, I think that the touches next season are going to be like vastly in different favor, but because of just of the talent level. But with Bijan, it was like, dude, you guys aren't doing anything else. Like you might as well do something, like just try to get this guy involved, try to block for him, like try to make him a useful offensive weapon within the system, or it's not as if what you're doing is working. Bobby, were you personally offended by the Bijan Robinson thing as much as Mike? I mean, I was confused by it, but I didn't have the kind of 4 horses of the apocalypse in the race that he did.
I think I was less confused and more just kind of with the par for the course, if that's what Arthur Smith is at this point, dude. he might be the worst, worst at drafting and utilizing skill position players I've ever seen. Like, we can talk about Bill Belichick all we want with that wide receiver position, but for you to draft two prolific talents, bro, like, and we're talking two guys that like we're seen as like the best at their position in years that we've seen. And Arthur Smith decides that his scheme is to use less skillful players with the ball and use those guys as decoys, because that is something that is what?
Yeah, I mean, I just, some people just really like love the smell of their own farts. You know, they really believe their own bullshit. And I just
Right.
think he was like, I'm the offensive guru that the internet has said I am for the last 5 years. Like, you just watch. Like, I'm gonna be this guy. I'm gonna show everybody. Like, this is gonna be how it works. And it was especially disappointing for me because I really thought that the Atlanta Falcons, because of those additions, were gonna be one of the more fun teams to watch. I waxed lyrical about them in our prediction show. It's one of the best parts of doing the prediction show is you sort of marry yourself to a few takes at the start of the year, and you're watching your takes go up and down like a stock. I think Bobby probably won the year on like early takes, even though we dominated his team so effortlessly in the actual prediction show. Like, I just, as far as like the narrative takes goes, like Bobby was knocking him out of the park left, right, and center, especially the CJ Stroud one. Like, he was just on board right away. But yeah, Bob, what was the thing that annoyed you the absolute most? What really grinded your gears this year, or what could, if you could have changed something, or what would it have been?
Um, I think exactly. I think you already kind of touched on it, and that's coach smelling their own farts and liking the smell of it. I think it's one of the most annoying storylines I've seen in years. It's been happening for years, and I can't fucking take it anymore, guys. I really fucking can't. It's just like, guys just play fucking football. It's sometimes it's just like I feel like they're all doing way too much, and it's like we don't need a Lamar Jackson. We have who have fucking Taylor Heineke. We don't need this. It's like we have this scheme, or we have guys. You got to this point by coaching football. You weren't cute offensive coordinators. You weren't cute defensive coordinators. Like, you schemed a great offensive defense, applied it to the game, and that's why you got to where you are.
Did you
I
ever
don't
see
know
that
why.
movie? Did you ever see that movie, The Other Guys? Where it's got a whole plot line in it where like Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell are the main characters, but then there's like two cops that are like straight out of the movies, and they like just believe their own confidence. Like, they're so confident in themselves that they eventually just jump off a building and die because they don't believe that they can like be actually harmed. I think a lot of coaches do that in the NFL where they're like, I trust me, guys. Like, I can solve all these problems with my genius, right? And I think you could call it like Doug Peterson syndrome. Like, Peterson pulls off the Philly special in the Super Bowl and then like goes on a book tour about how smart he is, and it's just, and then you sort of see that like he then thinks, or every coach that comes after him then is like, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be the guy that outsmarts Bill Belichick on the biggest day of the year, or like whatever series of dumb decisions that they actually make to get them to that point. But that's a good transition, because we are going to talk to Mike about the Patriots and how they're looking in the offseason. Talk at Mike, more accurately. We had a little bit of a back and forth about it already in the chat today. Bobby, I don't know if you saw that. I know you were like elbow deep in baby shit today, but the fact of the matter is, I'm confused. I'm confused about where the fan base is. Like, I'm confused about where the internet is and their opinion is on what the Patriots should do this coming offseason, because for me, it's just keep Bill Belichick as your coach. I don't see you getting a better football mind as the coach, and get rid of him as the guy who keeps fucking up the personnel, and keeps fucking up the coaching scheme or his actual staff. He always seems to make bad decisions on. So like you could criticize him as a coach there. But as a GM, you got to obviously get rid of him. And they even asked him straight up, like, would you quit as the GM and, stay on as the coach? And he was like, whatever helps the team get better. I don't know. Now, you can read into that in a multitude of ways, obviously, especially with a guy like Bill and how he is in press conferences. But Bobby, where do you stand on Mike's team? Would you keep Bill, fire him as a GM, or is this kind of pretty sexy coach offseason coming up? I don't blame fans for not for wanting a new guy in there with the amount of available options this coming off season. A lot of hot coordinators coming up. We talked about Vrabel for the Patriots and how he'd be like a culture fit right away because he played there. There's the Jim Harbaugh just winning the biggest game of the college football calendar last night, and was already projected to get catapulted right back into the NFL and get another shot after his last tenure in San Francisco. So there is a lot of options out there. I just think like Bill Belichick and the Patriots, like you can make it work. Wait, one little slump, like you can make it work. No,
So it's funny. We already talked about coaches smelling their own parts, man. If there's anyone
he
in the
has
world,
definitely been doing that this year. I agree with you.
if there's anyone in the world that can do it, it's Bill Belichick. However, no matter who you are, no matter how smart you are, how beautiful you are, no matter what, the older you get, your farts start to smell a little bit. There's not much you can do about it. You know what I mean? Like you can smell like roses in your 20s and 30s, but when you get to your 70s, bro, those farts are going to be stinky eventually. So I just think it is time. Period. You know what I mean? It's time. I think he can be.
He's had more winning seasons than losing seasons in New England by like a lot still.
Yeah. I just think it's time, man. You know what I mean? It's the voice he's
won out. So many games. You don't want to at least just let him get that record. You don't want to at least just in New England let him become winningest coach ever. Like he didn't do enough. Like are we that like footloose and fancy free in the world now? Is it seriously this sort of instant gratification? I want to win now. I want, we can't let this guy have a send off, become the winningest coach of all time. And it says New England Patriots next to his name every time that record comes up. Witness that level of greatness in our lifetime. Like this sort of internet culture now, just like, no, I want the next thing. I want the new thing. Like the Mikes of the world are probably asking for right now. And unfortunately he can't weigh in on this. Like, don't you think there's something to that? Like the man's an institution.
Yes, but to a point, man, when no matter how successful of a boss you are, right? This goes for really all workplaces, in my opinion. You can have 10 years of, record sales, man. But if you have 4 or 5 years where your sales are going down, your team sales go down, this goes down, and all of a sudden your bosses are sitting there for like 5 years. They're like, bro, what's up? You're like, but what about
Glenn Ross over here is firing Bill Belichick?
Well, I'm just saying, like, the writing's on the wall. You know what I mean? Like, listen, yes, there could be a situation where maybe he takes less power. I don't know what the case is, but like, as is currently constituted, I don't see a way the Patriots build out of that hole with him running the show like he is. You know what I mean? So something needs to change. Easiest thing to do and like the least painful for pretty much all parties, in my opinion, is just to clean cut it, right? I mean,
DK, can I
do whatever you want.
Okay, one more question for Bob. I'll let you win. Who comes in to replace him for you?
Vrabel. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. It's Vrabel, bro. It's the same. Listen, you want your culture back, right? You want that Patriot way back.
Yeah, but didn't him and Bill like not even get along? Like, wouldn't it be a different Patriot way?
You want to be able to connect with that younger crowd, man. You want to be able to connect with these guys. And if there's someone out there that can do it and still personify what you were as a franchise for like 30 years, that's the guy.
I guess. I mean, it's just, I guess there is a sort of a Cinderella nature to the connection of them and Vrabel, and like, the overwhelming opinion on the internet today seemed to be like, oh my God, the Titans fucked up so hard. Like they're not going to be able to like replace that guy. He's going to go to New England. It's a match made in heaven. It's all perfect, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. It's just like the kind of football I was seeing out of Tennessee the last couple of seasons. I wouldn't want anywhere near my football team right now. But I mean, yeah, like there's sometimes is some serendipity in that. Mike, is that what you want to have happen?
Well, no, I'm gonna honor the spirit of the arrangement that you just hit me with, and I just want to throw out just a fact for you, and then I want to hear what you have to say about it. In 6 of the seasons that Bill Belichick has been the head coach of the Patriots, that Tom Brady was not the starting quarterback, the Patriots have lost 9 games or more in 4 out of those seasons.
Yeah. I mean, that's not great. It's not ideal. But he also won you 6 Super Bowls, and like correlation isn't necessarily causation. Like I understand that the idea is like now that Tom Brady went somewhere else and won a Super Bowl, he was the real brains of the operation. He's the reason they won 6, but it just is more nuanced than that. It's just It's the fact that they were together. It's like who he made Tom Brady into. Like the proof is in the pudding for what Bill Belichick has like already done. And I will be continually railing, and it's not even my team, but I do appreciate greatness and I know what I saw. And I will be continually railing against this very like black and white, like internet theory that like it was Brady the whole time because of what happened after. Like it just doesn't work like that. That's not how it goes. So for everything you said, it's attached to the fact that but when Tom Brady was there, it's like, well, yeah, that was the majority of the fucking time. He also like drafted the guy and put him in the game and won all the fucking Super Bowls. Like he still gets the credit, like to me, like it's endemic of an already diseased part of the culture where we just decide to turn on people that have like their credibility and their legacy doesn't build enough, and it
I would
doesn't
just compare.
it doesn't last as long as it should.
I don't want to take any credibility away from him. I think everything that you say is true. He is, but the correlation for me is that he's Popovich. He built something. It ran a long time, probably longer than most people thought it was going to, and then it's run its course. It's over. Should be over.
I guess. It's a little sad though, don't you think? It's just like it's like, what do you have to do? What do you have to do around here to be fucking appreciated and being given a little time? Like, give him a little time.
I just find it. I can't share any sympathy for the guy that ran the GOAT out of town. Like
Are we sure that's what happened?
Yes. He was made. Bill Belichick always said better to cut someone a year early than a year late, and now we're all expected as fans to not do the same thing to him. I think it would be more respectful. Very good point.
Well said.
It's more respectful to follow his edicts and just do the same thing.
No, very good. I think we put a button on that. That was actually a very good point. I do think that now it probably is the time then in that case, if you think about it from that perspective. But you're the Pats fan, so I defer to you. All right, tell me all the ways the Bears are terrible. Feel free to take as many swings as you can, but I would love to know what you guys would do because like I said before, even the Packers game, I'm out on the Fields experiment. It's done. He's shown us who he is. It's sad. I like him. I wanted him to be good, but also Steelers has to go and et cetera, et cetera. So where do you guys stand on my team's bad season?
I think you're one addition on the defense away, and then for quarterback, my only thing would be: are you comfortable making the assertion that you're going to give up on your Ohio State quarterback to turn to a USC quarterback?
Yeah, I still don't buy into the idea that like where just because no good QBs have come at school doesn't mean you shouldn't draft them. Like I just don't understand that. It's like there's like more schools than there aren't of teams that like haven't produced a great NFL quarterback because like not that many have because there haven't been that many. Like it's hard to be a great NFL quarterback. Like look around the league, like it's difficult to like hit the highs that we grew up with. I think we might have been just in a very lucky era when we were kids. To be honest, we had a lot of talent in the league, but yeah, I mean, that doesn't apply. To me, it's like until they do. Like they've never had one until they do. That's true of every team. So it just.
But I think
it doesn't bother me.
I think Field is. I think the reason why I would say this is that if you look at the adversity that he's overcome in his first 3 years as a
he hasn't overcome it though.
Well, he
keeps losing games.
Right, but I would say his level of play in the last 7 weeks is the best that we've seen in his 3 years of being in the league, right? And the team responded. They went. Did they finish 7-10? And they were 2-7 or something like that at one point in time.
0-4 to start the season.
Yeah. So I would say that shows some grit. The only reason why I bring that up is because we've seen what Caleb Williams is like when things aren't going his way. And are you worried that unless the situation is absolutely perfect in Chicago, it's going to have to be that he might just crater too? Unless you're going to tell me, I wholeheartedly believe that this could be a solution. If you're bringing Jim Harbaugh, then you should go get Caleb Williams because Harbaugh knows how to coach college kids and develop quarterbacks.
What do you think, Bob?
Okay, so
wait, hold on. Before you do this, I just want to punctuate this real quick. Are you definitely on your good microphone?
No.
Like your little selection down there?
He's actually sitting on it to use as a chair.
Shut the fuck up. It says I am, yeah. Why is it not sounding?
We just don't know where it is.
Just sounds like you're on your maybe like your laptop mic or something. It's fine. I can understand you. I just thought maybe the setting had clicked over or something.
And I think it's like, it sounds good.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
There you go. So I definitely was prepared to come into this telling you that you should stay with Fields. But the more I think about it, man, I think you're right. I think we've seen a few anomalies when it comes to Fields. We've seen, spurts where he does look great. It does look like he can win games. But we've also come to the conclusion that the Bears are fantastic at tanking. And is it like that they're fantastic at tanking, or their quarterback just can't pull the game out in the last second when he needs to? You know what I mean? So it's a 50-50 split there. And I think a change of scenery could be paid for him. And at this point, man, Mike, you're right. Past 7 weeks has been the best football we've seen from this dude, right? Is that enough to warrant picking up a 5th-year option on this dude? Is that enough to warrant signing him to a big contract, or do you sell high?
Or you die on that contract, then you die on that contract. Like that's what people have to understand is that contract that you're talking about, you're dead. Like that's it. Like you're not going to be able to trade that. The more he proves that it wasn't a good idea to sign it.
But remember, you can't. I don't think you can talk at this point.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm very upset about that. I don't know why I backed myself into this corner.
the Bears have been living in this. Let's not decide on the 5th-year option of quarterbacks for like the last 9 years. At some point in time, they have to buck the trend. And because the same thing's going to happen with Caleb Williams if he comes out in 2 years, if the team falls apart around him, or if there's a catastrophic injury, they're going to be drafting another quarterback. And the conversation is the same. When do they make the stance and say, you know what, fuck that, this is our guy. We're going to go out. We're going to get Marvin Harrison. Now he's got Marvin Harrison and DJ Moore. We're going to get him a left tackle and a right guard, and we're going to figure it the fuck out.
I think he holds on to the ball for too long. I think that I've seen him in situations.
You can't talk. I'm asking Bobby.
At least Bobby's on my team. Go ahead.
Yeah. Listen, I just think the risks of keeping him and how much it sets back your franchise outweighs the pros of just cutting bait, selling high on this dude, and starting over at quarterback, because you have your pick of the litter at this point of guys that you want. So like, again, either say what you want about him, or whatever the case, what you do, they get the guy that they think that fits their scheme perfect. You know what I mean? And whoever that is, whoever it may be, we've seen Fields can, but he doesn't all the time. And it's possible that this guy could. And I feel like 3-4 years is a pretty good sample size. We're not talking,
but it's 1 year with a competent number 1 wide receiver. I'm just going to end with this. We can move on.
It's true.
That's
like
the last
point.
The last time the Bears had a quarterback start 3 straight season openers was Jay Cutler.
Smoking Jay.
Jay Cutler was talented. I just want to put that.
Yeah. Could you imagine if Justin Fields had Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffries to throw to? I think he'd be fine.
I thought that I enjoyed that offense. It was you know why I'm so worried about Bobby all the time is like how much Dak Prescott reminds me of Jay Cutler. Like how Bobby's like soul like looks and sounds when reacting to Dak Prescott sounds just like me from like 2005 to like 2010. So, that's just the way it is with those fucking guys. But he was talented. I just want to put that out there. He just didn't have when the chips were down. Okay, moving on from the Bears. I would just like to say in a hypothetical situation, completely unrelated to the Chicago Bears, you have to have a great quarterback to win Super Bowls now. And I think that there's at least one great quarterback, good to great quarterback in every draft. He might not necessarily be the guy who gets picked first all the time, but I think what you have to do in a situation like, say, for example, maybe Chicago's in, hypothetically, not specific about the Bears, I think you have to be 100% sure of the people that are making that decision and I'm not 100% sure of the staff. And I think the most important thing to do this season is to go out and get one of the great coaches that's available on the market and not stick with Eberflus, unfortunately. That's actually the priority. And maybe you get rid of Ryan Poles, but you got to get the guy who makes the right decision with the number 1 overall pick, whatever that decision may be. So you have to put him in the right position to succeed. We can all armchair it for like a million years, but realistically, like, is Ryan Poles the guy to make the right decision? Because there is a right decision and a wrong decision. No one knows for sure what it is. We can all speculate, but we'll look back and be like, oh, if only they had done this. That'll happen in 3 to 5 years, or it'll be like, wow, wasn't it great that they did this? They're in a great spot right now because they fucking
Fleeced the Panthers.
They fleeced the Panthers.
They did. They Danny Ainge them.
Crazy. So they need to turn that into Jason Tatum. Like that's just the most important thing. So, all right. Well, we got some playoff previews. That's the end of the sad round where we talk about our bad teams, and I'll start to talk myself into some shit coming into this offseason. But let's start with the Browns and the Texans. Super fun. And we said last week that the Texans getting in would be the funnest outcome of this weekend. It's exactly what we asked for. We got it. CJ Stroud looks the part. I love the fact that he's in the wild card game in his first season after the season he just had. And if he can go in there and even just look good against that Browns defense, I'm thrilled. But also a winnable game for the Texans. Bob, a winnable game for the Texans in the wild card of this season. Got to be the craziest storyline of the whole year. The real upside of this year is the Texans story. I have to think for you, right? I guess we lost Bob.
Well, I would just say that if at the beginning of the season we were to talk, and I were to tell you that Deshaun Watson was going to get hurt, and he was going to play like 4 games, and Nick Chubb was going to have a catastrophic knee injury, and the Browns are going to win 11 games on the back of fucking Joe Flacco. Like earlier in the show when you were talking about how like they're not a lot of likable teams. It sucks that 2 of them are playing each other in the opening round because one of them is going to have to leave, right? I think this has the potential to be like the best game of the weekend because I think the Cleveland Browns defense is good or has been good, but if this could be a shootout. And Flacco, we already saw what he and Amari Cooper do in a shootout. I think CJ Stroud, though, if they can walk in, is this game? Is it in Houston? It's at Houston.
Yeah,
Houston has it because they won the division. So I'm here for this, man. I think CJ Stroud's going to ball out. I love what DeMeco Ryans and that entire staff is doing. But the story of Flacco, though, like Eli had 2 great postseason runs. It's not inconceivable that Flacco's going to have one more.
It's pretty crazy, though. It's like way crazy. Eli did it. I do totally understand the comparison right away because they were identical. They had identical postseason stories where it was essentially the quarterback that you would not grade on the great to elite scale, having a great to elite postseason, right? Just for the listeners, by the way, it's just me and Mike for the run. It looks like Bobby lost power. There's a nor'easter in the Northeast, which is actually why they call it a nor'easter, which is, for those of you on the West Coast.
True.
Yeah, it is.
It's not true.
It is.
No, it's actually because the winds come in from the Northeast.
That's what I'm saying. Northeast. It's like named after the fucking region, though. Like nowhere else in the country. Nowhere else in the country says nor'easter. So I'm just telling them it's north and east are the 2 root words of the weather system that you're experiencing. I'm just trying to be helpful, you argumentative dick. So here's the long and short of it. I agree with you on many of the things you just said, and I'm excited about a few of the points you made. So just to go through them chronologically, I absolutely agree. These are the 2 best storylines of the NFL from a neutral perspective: is Joe Flacco's comeback and CJ Stroud's sort of breaking in. Whoever gets to commentate this game, like the storyline being this written for you, like the old guard, the new guard, like all that stuff just being so present right there. It's a 5-course meal for anyone doing that job this weekend. So I hope they give it to a good team, commentary team. That is, I hope it's not Romo. I'm fucking sick to death of listening to that guy talk. He's so bad.
I think it's the NBC B team.
Who's the NBCB team now? So
It's not.
'cause
So
it's not
it won't.
it's not
It won't be
Collinsworth?
Tirico. It won't be Tirico and Collinsworth because I think they call the Peacock game that's on Saturday night at 8. This is the 4:30 game. So
Collinsworth remains to me the best color guy in the
yes,
NFL.
100%.
And it's stupid that they broke him and Al Michaels up. I don't know what happened there, but it's dumb. And the Al Michaels Thursday night football games were just like not a way to let a man of that caliber like see out his final couple of years. Like those games are so bad. It was on a fucking Thursday. His dance partner like has got 2 left feet and he's just doing his best to carry him. It's bad. It's a bad way to see him go out. But Romo is all time bad. He's just, I mean, it's really gone downhill since he first came in. I think when he started, it was like, oh, this is an interesting, like fresh perspective. But I feel like he's been hitting his head on his way to work every day. Like it's crazy.
I also feel like if he just sat there and every single week for 4 now or 5 years, just said, "Oh, this is what they're going to do." Like we get tired of that too. Like he kind
I
of
agree with that.
I kind of did the wrong thing.
I kind of did.
He did the wrong thing. He peaked way too fucking early, and then he had nothing left.
Right.
That's it.
Just like his NFL career.
Yeah,
like identical to his NFL career.
But like between him going, "Oh, Jim, I don't know," and then have to listen to Dak go, "Here we go." Like I just hate every Cowboy quarterback for the last 20 years.
And also like he's been bitten by this this curse that happens to commentators in all sports where he gets a narrative into his head and he just tracks that narrative for the entire game. And you're like, dude, that's like not how it's playing out anymore. Like, you have to be malleable here. Like that's like not what's happening. Like you have to keep up with how the game's going. You know what I mean? Like, and something that always really annoys Leah, she's like, you ever get osmosis annoyance? Like your significant other is annoyed by something, they point it out to you and you're like, great, thanks. Now I'm annoyed by that too. But she always gets annoyed with like her and I can tell what's going on the field with like the refs and the body language most of the time. But like, it always annoys her that the commentator isn't doing his job by being like, this is what the refs are saying. Or like, this is what, and like Romo has that ability to be like, okay, so I think this is what the penalty is going to be. And I think I saw it on this like play. And when they're just talking about something else while there's like shit going on in the game, I like there's a vein pops up in her head I've never seen before. And it's I'm worried it's going to explode. I'm like, I know. It's so frustrating. I get it. That's why red zone's good, because you don't really have to pay attention to the commentators. But all right, that was a long diatribe about the commentary teams. You're all wonderful, and I'm not jealous at all that you get paid to do what you do. So yeah, I agree with 100% that it's the best narrative game of the weekend. It's the game I'm most looking forward to this weekend because I genuinely don't know what's going to happen. If Flacco did have that postseason run you're talking about, I do get why the comparisons to Manning are there, and also like he's done it before. And like he doesn't look old, you know. And I kind of don't hate his like sort of nihilistic approach to like the like involving himself in the narrative where they're like, Joe, this is pretty crazy, huh? And he keeps just kind of Belichicking it by being like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just here to do a job, and I could be this dad of a lot of these guys if I made terrible mistakes in high school. I'm like, all right, Joe. It's like, I was wrapped it up, kids.
The irony, I don't know if that's the right word. If Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns were to eliminate Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, like
a lot has to happen for us to get there.
Right. I know. But like that's there.
Yeah. I mean, that would be great. I would be rooting for that outcome, to be honest with you in that situation. Okay. Another really juicy one, that I'm really looking forward to, feels like less of a heavyweight clash than we maybe would have expected it to, but Dolphins and Chiefs are playing on the wild card weekend. Both teams that I think are, you know, probably in a lot of people's top 5 or 6 to likelihood to win the Super Bowl, and they're both wildcard teams. So one of them, these two fuckers has to go home, and they're both flawed, but also very capable of producing great moments teams. And I think going into this matchup, you'd have to think to yourself, am I going to err on the side of Andy Reid's playoff pedigree up into a certain point, and Patrick Mahomes being the far and away best quarterback in the league, and that taking you more farther in the postseason than really any other factor most of the time? Or is it just the fact that the Dolphins factually have way more weapons, and that old wisdom is gonna see the light of day? I'm tending towards the former because I think Andy Reid has a lot of juicy tape to watch on how to beat the Dolphins over the last 6 weeks, and I think he's gonna see what's going wrong there, and it's a lot easier to see things and exploit it, like, in the postseason than it is to fix it, on Mike McDaniel's side. Where do you stand on this, this where do you sink your teeth into this one?
Yeah, I think if we were just looking at this at the beginning of the season, right, knowing what we thought we knew going into it, we'd say that the over under for this game is going to be like 60, right? It's just going to be an offensive show. I think it's set at like 44. What we do know is that the Kansas City defense is really good, but their offense is fucking terrible. It's not Mahomes. Their running backs are good. Kelsey's still Travis Kelsey, but now he's to the point. He's a little bit older. He's at Gronk's point where at this age, Gronk could not be your only option, right? They always had Edelman and then when he was in Tampa, obviously they had Evans and Godwin, but they don't have a one or a three to complement Travis Kelsey. So I honestly think that in this instance, it's going to be the first team to score 20 points is going to win. I think that Miami defense is so suspect that they could. I mean, this could be one of those times when we see Mahomes go off because I hate betting against him in the playoffs. But have you seen anything on their offense that would lead you to believe that they can keep up with Miami if it turns into a shootout?
No, and also, like, they smack of, like, Tampa Bay in that last Brady year where there's, like, a lot of frustration, like, a lot of people are really mad at each other for, like, not doing their jobs, and the, like, very good and pedigreed, quarterback seems really pissed with a lot of his weapons, like, he's not hiding it very well. Say what you will about that, I'm not here to debate the merits of, like, how loud or not loud Patrick Mahomes should be about how much it sucks to, like, throw to Kadarius Toney, but, um, I do think that it's this is gonna sound kinda douchey, and I hate usually when people say shit like this, but I sorta think it. It is a dereliction of duty to hand a quarterback of Patrick Mahomes' greatness the offense that you handed him this year, and, like, someone's gotta fucking go for that. I don't think it should be
Yep.
Andy Reid by any stretch of the
No.
imagination, but I somebody needs to get fucking fired for signing off on that receiving core, like, with the people need a head for that one because you get a very limited window of time with these guys. We're all a little spoiled because of the idea of Tom Brady fresh in our minds, going for a billion years, and then also Joe Flacco coming off the couch at 75 years old to apparently, according to you, go on a crazy offseason run, which would be fun. I would probably rather the CJ Stroud run, to be honest. But all that being said, uh, you know, you owe it to him and his what he's done for your organization to give him the tools to win. Like you just do. And I think I'm sure you said almost that exact sentence verbatim in the last couple of Brady years when he was in New England. I'm sure. And
Yeah.
it does piss you off. It makes you mad when you're looking at greatness not served, right?
Yeah, but it does also feel like I'm just going to give the front office of Kansas City the benefit of the doubt on this one because it does feel a lot like the Green Bay last year, right? Like Dobbs was almost ready, but it was too early. Watson was almost ready, but it was too early. This year, like Rashee Rice, Justin Watson, I think they're almost there. They just needed a number one wide receiver on this squad. Like Juju caught all season for less yards than Amari Cooper caught in one game. But if he was still on the Chiefs, I think that this offense would be exponentially better because now Rashee Rice is not going against your number one or number two. You're going to get guarded by your number three, right? I think they're just a year too early.
I think Rasheed Rice you can make that case for. I think Kadarius Toney needs to go.
Yeah, he sucks, but Justin Watson, good. They know like Marquez Valdez Scanlon, he was a known commodity, and they brought him back.
Yeah.
So I think they just needed more firepower this year because I do think Rice and Watson next year are gonna. Everyone's gonna be like, is this the same fucking skill set, players? And I think they're just early.
Yeah, and I also think that's like it's not quite as simple as their wide receivers suck, although that's probably 80% of it. It's also I think they thought their running game was going to look a lot more explosive this year. I think they thought Pacheco was going to have a breakout year, and I'll admit so did I. Like the way he ran at his rookie year, he looked different. Like he looked special, and he just doesn't. I don't know. So he looks a little slower as he's not running the same way. He's had a decent season. Don't get me wrong, but he was like RB1 like by a lot. And I think
Yeah.
they thought he was going to be like a little bit more explosive. And I think they thought their defense was going to play better, like more like they did in the first few weeks than they did in the last few. And I think, obviously Jones holding out week 1 doesn't help, but like whatever, get your money. I just think that defense, like I think they maybe looked at them and overrated them a little bit coming into this season. So like a lot of things didn't really acquiesce for them, but all that could have been solved if you gave Patrick Mahomes like one more guy to throw to,
Just one guy.
just one
Yeah.
more guy to throw to. And to your point about Green Bay, I mean, it's a good one. How dumb is Aaron Rodgers for he's on a markedly worse Jets offense than the Green Bay offense. Like the quarterback's better, but everybody else is worse. Like,
Yeah.
maybe this season you could make a case for Breece Hall over AJ Dillon, but AJ Dillon looked really good the last few weeks. I bet he has a better season than him next year. So, it's like all this stuff just plays out for the dumbest people, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's a bummer. I would go. A lot of this is based on their last game in the regular season, but in this matchup, I'd probably lean Miami. Thinking about it after this conversation, where are you at?
Everything, I want to do that too, right? But everything that we've seen with Miami on the road this year, like I think were they 1-7 on the road or 2-6? It was bad.
They're particularly bad on the road, yeah.
Bad on the road, and it's going to be -2 degrees on Saturday in Kansas City. But the other like little storyline is this is Tyreek Hill's revenge game. I don't think anyone's going to be more up for this game than he will be. And
Also, you just really have to dump it off to him like 2 yards. Like in the snow, people are just going to be slip sliding everywhere. They're not going to be able to come anywhere near him. Like he's going to be fine. He's such an athlete. He can run in that weather. Maybe
And
overall
he's used
the
to it.
team is
He's used to it.
and he's used to it. I was going to say like the whole team might not be used to it, but he is, and he can play in that stadium. Like he might be the one guy that can unlock Arrowhead with wearing a different jersey. So that could be fun. I will also keep my eye out for that. How funny would it be if the Packers beat the Cowboys? I mean, I think that's why Bobby cut his own power, because he didn't want to talk about the kind of honestly inevitable thing that's going to happen like this weekend on Sunday in the afternoon game.
I mean, dude, they're only 7.5-point favorites, and like I really mean when I say only, like that.
That's because of what they're like in the playoffs,
right?
Not like that's why. Like it's because Dallas is like that in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they average 40 points per game at home, and I mean, this defense is good. I mean, I would say top 5 defense in the league, but I think Vegas knows what we all know is that can't move too much of the money on Dallas in the postseason. I think we have ourselves a matchup where Jordan Love doesn't know anything, right? He's never started a playoff game before. He's got nothing to lose. He's already playing with house money because the rest of the league was kind of, no knock on you, but was just like you at the beginning of the year saying they're going to win, 6 games. They're not going to make the playoffs. And here they are. They're eking in. And yeah, Gilmore's been a fun story, but do you think that Dallas, I mean, Bland and Gilmore on Dobbs and Watson is going to be fun all game long, all game. And if they get to a point where they have to stop the run, Micah Parsons is amazing, but he's not a run stopper. He's a QB sacker, right? He's a pass defender. I think you could be in a situation where this could be an Aaron Jones and what the hell's the other guy?
AJ Dillon.
AJ Dillon show. Like that could happen.
Yeah, I guess it could. I think that it would be funny and it would be like, wow, same old Dallas. But I do think that they're a little bit better this year than they have been. I think that when they look not so good, it's a little less terrible than it has been in the past. My one worry is Mike McCarthy really showed me he can fuck up, like in that Lions game. Like he really was like, oh, I can fuck up a game. You just watch this. Because he made inexplicable decisions that should have lost in the game if the refs didn't fucking bail them out. Right. So that was disappointing to see that game end like that. And I hate narratives like that because it's like, well, I wish the officials would just get it right because, it's not that hard. But I do think Dallas is probably going to win this game. And I have to, in my heart, root for them. Because
I'm betting the Packers, but I think Dallas
probably on value though. I would.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I have to root for them because I can't root for the Packers to go anywhere and do anything with success. But also, how funny would it be? Another how funny would it be slate on Sunday if the Steelers beat the Bills? Like a very beatable Bills team, a very flawed and very beatable Bills team coming up against a sort of revitalized and rejuvenated. It's a very similar narrative because they're 3-0 with Mason Rudolph as their starter. They've looked like one of the better teams, albeit for 3 games. They're not on paper as talented as the Bills, but they're on paper more talented than they've shown this season. And their skill players seem to finally be getting involved. I mean, not throwing the ball to George Pickens for whole games across the whole first part of the season under Matt Canada, although that did also happen for the majority of the last game, but they at least won it. He's a great decoy. You got to still stay with him the entire time, like because he'll still kill you at some point. But yeah, I mean, it's just like just not throwing to the good guys, like not being able to block correctly for Najee Harris, like all this stuff that they seem to have sort of figured out. There's a way that the Steelers get past the Bills. This is not the Steelers of 5 weeks ago.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but like coming in, like when we talked about doing the show yesterday, I was like, I'm all in on the Steelers beating the Bills.
Yes.
And then TJ Watt was ruled out.
Yeah, obviously the biggest thing that like could have possibly happened to the Steelers. But it sounds like if he gets, I mean, it was a bad hyperextended knee. I did watch it happen in real time, but it sounds like if they get through this game, he's back for the rest of the playoffs, right? So do it for TJ.
Yep.
Bulletin board.
But like if you think about it, right, like all year this team, like the Steelers have won not because of their offense, but because of their defense, obviously, and their coaching. Now in this game, there's no TJ Watt, there's no Quan Alexander, there's no Cole Holcomb, and there's no Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Josh Allen should be able to.
Right, but that's the thing, though, right? Like that's the thing. It's like it was always going to be that the Bills needed to come in and underperform. It was always going to be that because if the Bills came into this game, no matter how healthy the Steelers were, and played to the best of their ability, and played like if they looked like the best that they have this year, they were always going to win the game. So what it was always going to come down to is, are they going to do that? But I also think that Tomlin is a savvy enough coach where he realizes that the way you beat the Buffalo Bills, because we all realize it, we all fucking realize it, you don't actually have to be that savvy of a coach, is to put Josh Allen in situations where he's going to start making mistakes. And I think 2 things are becoming truer and truer about that Bills team. And one is it's easier than it used to be to put him in those positions.
Yep.
And 2, the mistakes are getting worse when he gets into those positions. Now, and I used to say this exact same fucking diatribe about Matt Stafford. I used to say the same shit because the Bears have always historically beat up on the fucking Lions. And I would be like, I don't know what you're worried about, Matt Stafford. I said that whole run when he got all the way to the Super Bowl and won. And I was like, I don't know why no one's blitzing him. I don't know why no one's blitzing him. I swear to God, it was the most miraculous season of football I've ever seen in my life because nobody sent any extra guys after him for an entire fucking season and a postseason run and a Super Bowl. It was crazy. But then the next season, it's like, oh, you put a little pressure on him. He starts to make mistakes. He will, like Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a worse example of this, I think. He will rise with the tides of the game. So if the game starts going against him, he'll get put in quicksand. It's about, and I think that no coach does this better than Tomlin. It's about managing the narrative and the momentum of the game. And I think that Tomlin does that. I think he does that in games. I think he does that in seasons. I think he does that with the media, with his team. I think he's all about like, strings on the puppet from back here. And letting things play out in certain ways that seem to benefit him almost every time. Like it's Machiavellian at this point. And I think I think that he's really going to go in there and fuck with Josh Allen. Like he's going to fuck with him so hard. And I really enjoy watching it. Will that be enough to win the game? I don't know. But I'm going to enjoy Mike Tomlin just fucking with Josh Allen as much as humanly possible because I think he thinks he's a mental midget. And I think he might be right.
He is. He is. Look, there are 2 coaches in the NFL right now that know how to play Josh Allen better than anybody else. Mike Tomlin is Bill Belichick. They both do the same thing on defense. They rush a defender from the left to flush him out to the left, and they put a spy on the other side. Mm-hmm. That's it. Mm-hmm. And then Josh Allen freaks the fuck out. He runs to his left and he throws to his right and pick.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Especially as the field starts to shrink, because he'll even go 3, 4, 5 plays. He'll bust out like a 10 to 15 yard play or a long pass to Diggs or like something like that. Belichick's also like a big proponent of the simple truth that like if they have a guy like Stephon Diggs, you put 2 guys on him. And like a lot of coaches don't seem to want to do shit like that anymore in the NFL. It's very strange. It's like, well, just double him. It's like, well, just gonna double him. Like you go underneath, you go up top, and just like stay on his route. Like there's that famous clip of him talking to Ocho Cinco. He's like, I hope you weren't planning on doing anything today because we're doubling you. We're doubling you all day. And it like he's like red 8-5. That's the call. Just so you know, the call. That's the W. And you're gonna have a long day on the beach today, sir. He's like, I'm not gonna
Right.
be.
I mean,
That's for sure. And
nobody
it's
knew
just
who
simple.
nobody knew who Gabe Davis was until the until the Bills played the Patriots last year, and he put up like 180 yards because we just doubled fucking Diggs both times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but the Steelers have obviously. I'm going to pick the Steelers to win this game.
Great. I love to hear it. I think it's a great call. And I think there probably is value in the bet if you were that predisposed. Rams
Yeah,
Lions.
there's value.
Yeah, Rams Lions. I'm the least interested in of all the playoff games this weekend.
Really?
Yeah, I think the Lions are going to take it like pretty handily. I think people are going to be surprised. Like I think that the way that these two teams are built, I think the Lions are going to be too fast. I think they're going to have too much. I think they're going to hit them really fast, really early, and the Rams are not going to know what to do. Am I guilty of still underrating the Rams, Mike? It seems like people are kind of doing this like, oh, you slept on the Rams thing, and it's like I don't know if we did. I don't know if we did. I've seen them be really bad a lot of times this year, and I think like
Still-
yeah, I know they were Super Bowl champs a couple years ago, and like people wrote them off maybe a little too quickly, but I don't know. I feel like the Lions are kind of built to beat this. Built to win a wild card weekend at the very least.
I also think that if there is a team that the moment could be too big for them, like their first time in, like it's the Lions, right? Because everything, the only
There's
reason
some culture here now. I don't know.
Yeah, but in this particular game, you have the guy that you traded away to go win the Super Bowl coming back to Detroit. You have Sean McVay, who I do believe can outcoach Dan Campbell. I love Dan Campbell. And the Lions defense is really nothing to write home about, and especially with Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp, and Puka Nacua. I mean, they're going to have their looks. And so it's going to be a matter of, will Dan Campbell do what he did last week and take unnecessary risks when he does not have to?
I don't think it's going to come. Because I think they're going to be up by so much that it's not going to matter
Really?
what risks he takes. Yeah. I mean, for me, it comes down to quarterback play. Like you said, like the narrative's true on both sides. They swap quarterbacks. So the only difference is fucking Stafford. Is he okay? You know what I mean? Like I don't know what the situation is at quarterback in LA. Like I feel like it's very strange, and I don't think he's the quarterback he was when he won the Super Bowl. And he's got a lot of weapons to throw to. I'm a huge fan of Puka Nacua and the whole narrative of his story this season. Cooper Kupp's always been great, but I don't know. They just seem soft in the underbelly to me, and I think that again, like they're going to try to go skill for skill with the Lions, and those are the teams that the Lions beat. I was saying this about the Cowboys. Like I was like, if you just drag them into a fucking trench fight, I think you can win. But like the Cowboys are so reluctant to do that. They always, and I think it's a lot of this is Dak. They just want to go have a shootout. They want to go okay corral with like all these teams. So like they get into these situations where games are maybe closer than they should be. And you put unnecessary pressure on your defense. But I think that the Lions are a skilled team. I've seen these teams style on the Rams this year. I think if the Rams can get their foothold in a game, they can like wear you down. Shit, we just popped off another like 10 to 15 yarder to Puka. Like, oh shit, they got us again over the middle. Oh, they gashed us here. I don't know. I don't think they're going to have time to do that. I think the Lions are going to come out. I think they look like they have some mental fortitude, and I think Campbell's able to turn the sort of things that happened to them this season into positives. So I've been on them all year, and I think that they're going to look really good.
The one thing that I take note of, right, is since the week 10 bye,
they played so many divisional games in that run. And I said this too, is like they played so many divisional games, which are ultimate equalizers.
Well, I'm talking about the Rams.
Oh,
since the week 10 bye, the Rams have averaged 30 points a game against defenses like Cleveland, Baltimore, and San Francisco. The Lions don't have that.
No, they don't. And their defense has definitely slumped over the past few weeks too. They kind of got found out a little bit. I'll give you that.
So I would just like ask you, who do you, if this turns into just a shootout, who do you trust?
Goff.
What?
Yeah, of the 2 QBs, yeah, Goff. Like, I mean, that's who I trust in this situation, with just based on, like, what they've looked like this season, you know? Or I would maybe go one further, probably Campbell. Like, I trust Campbell in a shootout, you know? Actually,
I think
I
you'd be
don't
very
trust him in a
surprised
shootout, that's the problem. That's actually his biggest fucking drawback.
if you look at Stafford's stats, I think you'd actually be surprised at how good of a year he had.
I had him on my fantasy team, he was fucking disappointing. He was thoroughly disappointing, uh, the whole year, so I don't agree with you that that's the case.
In the league, they completely devalued quarterbacks and overemphasized defenses kickers.
I don't think we devalued quarterbacks. I didn't take any points away from quarterbacks at all.
I don't think you valued them as much as you should have.
What do you think I should have raised the value? Like, changed the
I don't
value?
think it would have helped. It wouldn't have helped me either way, dude.
I mean, I'm open to fucking notes. Nobody wanted to talk about it in the offseason. I just want to get pissed after you fucking do it and you tell everyone about it. Like, it's like everyone, I'm here where I'm changing the rules. Anybody want to talk about it? No? Okay. And then everyone's like, what the fuck? Why'd you change the rules? I'm like, okay, cool.
I mean, Stafford threw for 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, 11 picks. Like, he had a pretty good year.
25 touchdowns, 11 picks is not that good. Especially with the receivers that he has. It's just not that good. Like, we're talking we're in the playoffs now. You know, I mean, like,
but who's going to cover? Yeah, but I mean, in his division, he went against San Francisco twice and Seattle twice, all of which emphasize defense.
that's
right?
a good.
I don't like Detroit doesn't do that. I just think when it's real like nut cutting time, I trust McVay more than I trust Dan Campbell.
Yeah, McVay definitely is a better coach. So you're right about that. But I mean, if we're talking about, I mean, a pretty respectable line from Goff too, with what you say is less weapons: 45, 75 yards, 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 68% completion percentage. So, you know, I don't know. Those look like possible playoff winning stats, possible Super Bowl quarterback stats, like borderline. I would like a couple more touchdowns, but borderline, right? Especially this season. But if you're in the 20s with your TDs, with those receivers, that seems crazy to me. That seems abnormally low. So that's what I'm saying. He was disappointing in fantasy. It's like, he's not scoring. You got to score on this Lions team, because I promise they'll score on you. I promise they're going to score on you. Like, they're going to. They know how to score touchdowns. This team just does. So that's what I'm saying. Like, the early hit, I think they might run out to an early lead. It's just that the gut feeling this, but you could be right. It's probably the game we've disagreed about the most. I can concede the point. I concede the point about Campbell. He does make very fucking rash decisions, and it's like, it might be an understatement.
No,
but I do think he's built a culture there, don't you? Like, I think that is like an accomplishment of his, and I do think his players play for him and believe in him. McVay, McVay, they mortgage their future on some stuff. I don't know. I like Dan Campbell. McVay's face kind of pisses me off, but I agree that he is a good coach.
I think Campbell has built a culture of nobody respects you. Nobody thought you could be here. They think the moment's too big for you.
The island of misfit toys.
But now he's here.
Yeah.
And in a moment where he could have put the Lions as a number 2 seed and beat the Cowboys, I mean, just kick the fucking field goal. Just kick the field goal.
You mean
the second time?
You mean the extra point?
Yeah, the extra point. Like,
but that just brings you to OT. Like, that's not like, definitive. They got fucked in that game. Like, I do agree that he made mistakes, but they got fucked. Like,
well, then go to overtime and settle it again, because you're gonna get the ball back, right? I mean, there's like a 75% chance you're gonna get the ball back.
I don't know. I respect it. He's like, fuck it, we'll do it again. Fuck these refs. We'll do it again. We'll fucking do it again. Let's go. I respect it, honestly. He's like, fuck it, we're winning this game or we're losing this game right now. Fuck these guys. I respect it. At least it's consistent, At least he's not a fucking coward, right? At least he's going to go over the top, with his men. At least he's going to go in a fucking battle with his men. And I think that a lot of times the playoffs come down to that. The Rams just have not looked the part to me. Maybe that's too ethereal. They just have not fucking looked the part to me. I think they're imagine those receivers on Kansas City. Imagine those receivers on Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes has 60 touchdowns.
I was advocating
60
for
fucking
Cooper Kupp.
touchdowns, not 20. He would have fucking 60.
I was advocating for Cooper Kupp to be traded to Kansas City like week 4, because I felt like after the emergence of Puka, but there can be a better transition to the team that you just don't like how they look to the Philadelphia Eagles?
Dude, I've been saying that shit about the Eagles for the whole season. Those
Yeah.
motherfuckers, none of their wins look convincing. Not a fucking one of them. And then they dropped that fucking duck to that Jets team where they made that Jets defense look like the 85 Bears. Like they were just like, and then just a terrible pick. All this speculation about Jalen Hurts. Like, is he hurt? You know, does he have a hairline fracture somewhere? Looks weird. The coordinators are different. Are they as good? What, is now finally, because he cracked up. Nick Sirianni fully cracked up in front of our eyes, right? With no one there to like fucking Sean McVay pull his ass in from the cold. No one giving him advice. Like, how has he driven all the good advice givers away? No one there to be like, dude, whether you're right or you're wrong about what you're saying, this is how it's going to play. Because a first-year publicist could tell you that, right? It's just, he's like, what? I answered the fucking question already. And I'm like, dude, this is what they want. They're a pit of sharks. Do not give them what they want. The fucking media room, I bet all their fucking dicks got hard when he started to crack up. Like, they're like, oh my God, soundbite. This is going to be a fucking great
Oh
day.
yeah.
And I think Nick Sirianni, like, absolute dereliction of duty hiring Matt Patricia and bringing him anywhere near your football organization. Absolute dereliction of duty every time it happens. I can't believe it still does. It's insane to me. I like, what Epstein list does he have that he keeps getting fucking done? It's baffling to me. Baffling. But yeah, they hadn't looked convincing up until the fucking wheels came off. The coach is in over his head. I think if he was ever going to be a good coach, he wasn't ready yet. He wasn't fully baked in the oven. You needed to leave him in there. He's got a soggy bottom. And I just think that's what's happening. And they're very talented. They're a very talented team. They could drop this game to the fucking Bucs though with how they've looked. Like dropping the fucking 1 seed in their division it was like, guys, it's fine. All you have to do is go play the Giants. All you have to do is go play the Giants. Like, there's maybe 1 or 2 teams maybe that you'd prefer to play than the fucking Giants in that situation. And they didn't just lose, they got bounced by the fucking Giants, right? Fuck out of here with that. Like, unbelievable. I bet the atmosphere in Philadelphia right now in the wintertime is just absolutely toxic. I bet there's fucking fistfights happening just everywhere, all over downtown Philly.
You were 10-1, and now you're traveling to Tampa to play on Wild Card Weekend.
That's so embarrassing. That's so embarrassing, dude. With that
by the
team,
way,
too, that team's good. That team in almost every position is strong. They have the best offensive line in football by a good amount. They have, honestly, I didn't think this was going to be the case, but easily a top 7 quarterback, right? At this point where he's playing well. They've got a couple of guys in their receiving core that are both probably mentionable in the top 10. One definitely is. And they've got a pretty adequate defense for what the kind of football that they want to play. They're big, they're strong, they're physical, they're well-rounded football team, and they should not be losing the games they're losing. That's down to the fucking coaching. They will fire him too. If he lays a fucking egg in this game, they will fucking fire him. That's it. They've cut ties with better coaches than him. So,
they entered the season with the either the least or the second least player turnover from year over year. And their defense went from being the top 5 defense to a bottom 5 defense.
Well, that Super Bowl hangover maybe came a calling. Finally, they had some momentum at the start of the year. Maybe it happened strangely, but no team performs well after they lose in a Super Bowl. It's like, it's so true, every single year.
Would you be surprised if Baker just has the game of his life and just fucking bounces them from the playoffs?
I wouldn't be surprised if they were bouncing the playoffs. I can't sit here and tell you that I ever believed Baker Mayfield would have like a good game. Like, even his good games this year, we're like, okay, I guess he won that. I guess we give that credit to Baker. No, I mean, he's not good at football. He's going to be like I can see him becoming like a Ryan Fitzpatrick figure. I think that there's a hole in the league for a Ryan Fitzpatrick figure, like long term, but like, I don't know if you're the Buccaneers.
Like 9 teams in 12 years.
Yeah, but like, he has a fun like 5 games every year, where it's like, oh shit, okay, we're doing this. All right, sweet. That's, that could be a thing. But yeah, I mean, if you're the Buccaneers, you're really like, yeah, we're going all in on Baker Mayfield. Like, this is how we're gonna do it. But I mean, if he beats the Eagles, you might have to. But I don't think I guess what I'm trying to get at long-windedly is like, I don't think it's going to be Baker. I think it's going to be the fucking Eagles just like shooting their sticks off for no reason because like something's rotten in the state of fucking Denmark. You know what I mean?
I mean, but the Bucs are riding like a 4-game streak in which Baker has thrown 9 touchdowns, 1 pick, and they're 4-0. So like
it's
he
the same as the
right time.
Steelers, really, isn't it? It's like almost the exact same like narrative as the Steelers coming in. So I guess, I mean, conventional wisdom says none of these things that were floating are going to happen. And then like the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Browns, the Bills, the Lions, and the Eagles all win this weekend. And Wild Card Weekend was a fucking dud, but that can't possibly happen, right? One of these things that we're espousing here is going to play out. It's just a matter of what the most fun version of that is. But to find that out, you'll have to tune in on Saturday, and we're all going to be watching and talking and comparing notes, and we'll be back next week to review these games and preview the divisional round. So it's football playoff time, everybody. I mean, these shows fucking make themselves. For me, DK Sizzle, for the real BK Bob Kelly, who I hope is okay, reading by candlelight at the moment. And for Mike Marcangelo, thank you so much for doing this. Listen to our other MTV Boston show that'll be out at some point this week, I'm sure. And thanks. Football season almost over. MTP.
Are you a fan of classic cinema or a young person who wants to discover the best films of all time? Do these legendary movies still hold up?
On the Generation Film podcast, 2 guys who grew up when movies dominated the culture share a great film with a panel of young movie lovers and see how it plays for today's generation.
We discuss changes in storytelling styles, representation,
The making of each film, its initial reception, and how its meaning has changed over the years.
Join us as we explore cinema classics across generations on Generation Film.
Electricast.
Hey, what's happening out there, everybody? This is Lawrence Ross, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about my podcast, The Lawrence Ross Show.
Egomaniac.
It's a 2-hour weekly exploration into my mind. I also do sketches, celebrity impersonations.
You're out of order!
And I also do song parodies. Not too shabby for a blind guy.
Not only are you visually impaired, but you are geographically impaired.
New episodes are released every Friday. Check it out on your favorite podcasting platform or listen to it here on Society 13 on Electricast.
Electricast.